head and the tail. So if I am cutting porterhouse steaks, I'm going to crack this muscle right across here, right? I'm going to make this a butt tenderloin if I'm going to put porterhouse steaks on the menu. But we're not doing that today. We're going to take the whole fillet out. So a packer will cut that right here and create butt tenderloins and tenderloin tails. Food service, you guys look most for whole tenderloins because they utilize the whole thing. Less, specifically you guys selling short loins here, and then you'll get this cracked right here. But I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to steam it out like I did the fat. I'm going to do it on the tenderloin side.
Tenderloin is usually the most expensive common cut coming out of the whole animal on a weekly basis. Obviously, that's where you're going to cut fillets from. Some customers who are going to cut their own. We'll get into a yield test later after we've breaking everything else apart. But tenderloin is where most chefs really want to be looking at what they're doing for portion control. Because when we get into the yield test, you're going to see that probably half of that tenderloin that comes out of there can't be used for your center cut entree item. Okay? You're going to have to get creative with what you're going to do with all the byproduct that comes out of it. So they've got to design the menu to get rid of the tips and the tails and the other pieces. The challenge is, how does that balance out? And like most chefs, it doesn't usually balance the way they designed it to in reality.
We don't think anybody.
So that then they have to buy more or one or the other. Or the worst thing we see sometimes is customers take a whole tenderloin, just take the whole thing, chop it up into tips and tails, and I just go, oh my God, you're just throwing away money. Scary. Very scary.
And a lot of chefs are smart enough to know that high quality CAB tenderloins are expensive, but some of them put sauces, they'll wrap them in bacon, they'll do all different things with tenderloin to make it really eat good. One thing about the CAB tenderloin, it's going to have that, what's the muscle going to have in that tenderloin that most other breeds of cattle won't have? Superior or marbling. Marbling produces that flavor. A lot of the other tenderloins you see out there, the commodity, the select, they don't have much marbling. It just doesn't get into this muscle. So on a CAB one, and this will be light and marbling compared to like a strip would be, but it's very tender no matter what grade it hits, select or choice, because of its protection in the body. It doesn't get moved a lot. The chuck muscles, those are the moving muscles, those are the toughest ones. That's why a lot of those end up in ground beef. The chuck muscles are the motion muscle of the cattle, so that's why the chuck meat's always less expensive, it's tougher. But I tell you what, some of the best eating muscles are coming out of the chuck today. The teres major, flat iron. As an industry, the beef industry is further processed than this animal. We're seeing value in certain cuts. Serratus ventralis off the chuck is a very, very good muscle.
And those are items that we've done very good jobs of marketing and getting customers to be able to utilize undervalued items like that. When you can show your customer, here's an item that you can make 20%, 30% more money on than an item that you're using now, you're going to be a lot more important to that customer on a weekly basis because they're going to keep coming back to you for the next good idea. They're going to keep coming back to you to solve that problem. And that's what we're going to try to show you how to do with a lot of these items.
So I'm actually following the natural seam here of this head on the tenderloin down the hip bone, and I'm going to actually cut a little bit off because I don't want to get too fussy with it today, but